Although today was Inauguration Day, there was something much more monumental and historic that occurred just a couple days ago. And that is that a couple days ago, I shared with the entire world the fruits of my hard work and labor. After many, many hours of research in the lab, deep thought, and soul searching, I developed the perfect and ultimate 10-question test to determine whether you are indeed a grifter or not. And if you are a grifter, I also provided the tools in how you can rehabilitate yourself and rid yourself of your inner grifterness. This is now making its way across the world. Nationally, internationally, people are taking the test and they're realizing whether they are a grifter or not, and they're starting to rehabilitate themselves. And I am included. I'm trying to rehabilitate myself as well, which is why I made this 10-question test available to the entire world free of charge, not charging anybody. And in fact, big corporations and companies are now using this 10-question test to determine whether their employees perhaps are grifting and are grifters. So this is really a monumental and historic day that happened a couple days ago. And before I go back to the lab and research and develop and innovate more inventions, I figured it'd be a good time to take a pause and go through some of the comments that I received. Some good, some positive, some encouraging, and some negative, some criticism. And as you know, I'm always willing to learn and perfect my art and craft. And therefore, we're going to be going through everything with an open mind and seeing whether I can implement some of the suggestions that were suggested. So let's pull up the comments and let's go through them right now. Okay. So these are, first, we'll go through some of the encouraging ones, the supportive ones, which are, of course, I understand, less boring, and I do appreciate all the comments that you've been making, but I can't go through all of them. So we're just going to take a little sampling size, and we will see what these say. So here we go. This is a truly monumental piece of work that is bound to change the fields of law and science, perhaps forever. And not only is it bound to change, and not only do I agree with this commenter, obviously, it's not bound to change. It actually already is changing the fields of law and science and medicine, by the way. And it is changing. I think the change is going to last forever. Nothing can be the same after this moment. And I completely 100% agree with this commenter. So I'm glad that he or she actually gets it. So let's move on. Inner grifterness, fabulous. As always, you are right on point. Love it. Next, this is a great video. And in so many ways, so many reasons, informative and sarcastic, my favorite. And yes, that video was extremely informative. And also, we tried to sprinkle in a little bit of sarcasm, a little bit of some jokes, put a smile on your face. So perhaps you'll remember this moment a little bit better. Moving on. You are hilarious. This video made me laugh out loud. I love your channel, including your coverage of Karen Reed. Moving on. I just liked and subscribed. You own the internet. You won. And that's true. I mean, this is going across the world right now, nationally, internationally. And I think it's important because I think people are now starting to take the test and realize whether they have this issue or not. Continuing, BC, you made my day. Love your sense of humor. Okay, this is probably my favorite video. And why wouldn't it be? After all, this is probably the most monumental and historic video that I've ever made. Forget about all the legal research that I've done and shown you and all the different recaps that I've shown you. This is really could be the most important video that I ever did in my entire career as a YouTube content creator. Moving on. It's peer-reviewed science. History has been made. Totally crushed it. Butt dials and butt answers. Inner grifterness. Experts no one's ever heard of. My face hurts from laughing. Having it on PowerPoint is just chef's kiss. Is this the comedy club annex of Brother Counsel Studios? I like this venue. I'm still laughing. Good one. Okay, so that's where all the more positive and encouraging comments. But of course, there also is some criticism that needs to be handed out. And I am, of course, always receptive to good, solid, constructive criticism. And now let's move on to the criticism. Here we go. JI5/24. Now, if you're familiar with this channel, you'll know that this is a commenter, and I don't know if it's a he or she, so I apologize, but someone who's been very, very active in my comment section, seems to feel very strongly about Karen Reed's guilt, which is fine. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion, their own review of the evidence. Again, like I've said many times, I don't believe that the Commonwealth proved their case beyond a reasonable doubt. But this is someone who feels very strongly about Karen Reed's guilt. So here we go, what this person has to say. A sign of a grifter could also be someone who refuses to provide their real name, as you don't. Yet all other YouTube attorneys provide could be hiding something or things they don't want viewers to actually know. Example, you cannot actually be an attorney, but an accountant for all the viewers actually know. Via your channel information, you do not even state that you are an actual attorney. So here's a point. Who says that I'm an attorney at all? You see all those certificates on the wall. Maybe you don't see it close up. It could be that they're actually showing that I've passed the CPA exam or that I'm an accountant. So how do you even know that I'm an attorney? I mean, I guess I can show you the certificates, but I've never presented to you. I mean, I've said that I'm an attorney, but I never shared with you my real name. So who says that I'm really an attorney anyway? And after all, if you look even in my channel information, I don't even state that I'm an actual attorney. Well, that is true that I don't state in my channel information, my channel description, that I am an attorney. I do say that I've been involved with civil and criminal, state and federal trials, but I never said directly that I'm an attorney. So who knows? Maybe I'm really an accountant and I'm just walking the walk, but I don't really talk. I'm sorry, I'm really talking the talk, but I'm not really walking the walk. Maybe I'm not really an attorney, but I will show you something, because I think that if you would have done a little bit more homework, number one, you would have seen that I'm an attorney. And also number two, you would have seen that I actually do give my name, even though I'm just stated as Brother Counsel. That is my brand. But I actually do give my name, and I'll show you exactly where. It's not a secret. So let's just take, for example, the case that I just talked about, this last video. Here we go, the Karen Reed 10 signs you are a grifter. So if you look, this is the video. And if you go down a little bit, there's the video description. Now, this is not to be confused with the channel description. Channel description is different. Here is the video description. And probably in the past, like, I don't know, maybe 100 videos, the description all starts about the same. It starts, trial lawyer Martin E. Radner breaks down the 10 signs that you are a grifter in the Karen Reed case. And if the title of the video is something else, and it will be something like trial lawyer Martin E. Radner breaks down day 24 in the Karen Reed trial, or something like that. But there it is right out there, trial lawyer Martin E. Radner. So there's my name. You can look me up. Not trying to hide behind any name of Brother Counsel. It's right there for everyone to see. So go ahead, look me up, and it's been there straight there for the past 100 videos or so. So you just got to do a little bit more homework, and then you would have seen actually my real name. And I think a lot of people who have been following me know, and they even refer to me as Martin. But that's all you got to do in order to get the answer to that question. So I can't take that comment too seriously, because as I've seen, as I said, as I showed you, it's pretty straight out right there. Okay, so now let's move on with the next comment from this person. Moving on. Does this guy, referring to me, have any experience in court? We've never been referred to any cases he's allegedly been involved in. It's said the successful attorneys are in court and always busy and are not spending time trying to make money on YouTube. A lack of transparency and overrating themselves could be a sign of grifting. So this is not a sign that I said one of my 10 questions. Lack of transparency and overrating themselves. So here is a suggestion that could be one of the questions of, is there some transparency? Do we know any cases that this person who claims that he's a lawyer been involved in? Now, to be fair and honest, okay, there's probably millions of cases filed every month across the entire country. And that's just the reality. I mean, millions of cases filed, probably thousands or hundreds of thousands of prosecutions being made. So the amount that you see actually being covered by Court TV or Law and Crime Network or any of your favorite channels are a very, very small percentage. Okay, so let's just understand that. Apparently, my cases are not newsworthy, not yet. So I haven't had a case that's just so high profile that everybody, all the channels want to cover me just quite yet. So I don't think that that's 100% fair to say, well, if you haven't seen this guy in television, then obviously he can't be a real lawyer trying real cases. I don't think that that's really a reasonable or logical conclusion. Now, the question is really, okay, so is there any way to check whether a lawyer is actually trying cases or if he's just on YouTube? Maybe he's a retired lawyer. There's some people I think retire and then they just create channels and provide legal analysis. So am I a real lawyer, or am I just creating this YouTube channel? So I'm going to go through a number of courts that I've been involved in, that I've made appearances in, And this is public information, really. You can go to any of these courts that I'm going to be saying, and you can see whether this attorney, Martin Radner, even exists. So here we go. It starts with this is all in Michigan. And there are some appearances that I made in New Jersey. I'm just starting to branch out the practice in New Jersey, so not a ton in New Jersey just yet. So we'll go through Michigan mostly first. Okay, so we've got the 7th/W district in Michigan. We've got the 15th district. There's a lot of cases I handle in 15th district, so you should be able to get plenty. Now, I think the only problem is that online, if you try to search the 15th district, you won't be able to search by attorney. So you won't be able to see all the cases I'm involved in, but it could be if you make a phone call to the court. These are public records. So maybe there's some way that they'll be able to help you get a list of all the cases that I've been involved in. So we've got 15th district, the 43rd district, 44th district, 45th district, 46th district, 48th district, 50th district, 52-3 district, 52-4 district. Yeah, that's how some of the districts are. You got the 72nd district, the 87th/C district. Those are all the district courts that I've made appearances in. And I may be missing a couple also. And then there's also the circuit courts that I made appearances in. So you got Wayne County Circuit Court, you got Oakland County Circuit Court, you've got Macomb County Circuit Court, you've got Washington County Circuit Court. I've been in Genesee County Circuit Court. So there's a few counties that I'm also missing, but those are the county courts that you can also readily available public information. You can call them up and ask if there's any sort of record of Martin Radner ever making an appearance. Maybe they're going to ask you to pay a fee or something, but all these courts you can try your best to look up. And I'm assuming since it's public record, you should be able to get some of the records to show that I actually try cases even today. And on top of that, there's also the Court of Appeals. You have a Michigan Court of Appeals. I've been in a number of times. The Michigan Supreme Court, I only filed things in. I haven't actually had the opportunity and privilege to argue in the Michigan Supreme Court. I almost did, but the Michigan Supreme Court sent the case back to the Court of Appeals. So we'll see. I still may get that opportunity to argue in the Michigan Supreme Court. But the Michigan Court of Appeals, I'm definitely there. The Federal Eastern District of Michigan and the Western Federal District of Michigan as well. A lot of these cases, there's a lot of cases also, just the way attorneys work sometimes, is that you can work as a contract, basically as a contract attorney, which means that if some other people have cases, some other lawyers have cases, and they need some help writing, or they need some help appearing on cases or taking depositions, or even last minute helping them with trial work, that's also something that I do. And then you won't see me actually on the cases. So there's been a lot of cases where attorneys have been calling me up like on the 11th hour saying, help, I need some help with this trial, or I need some help writing something, or I need some help with the deposition. And I've been able to help some of the attorneys out as well, but you're not going to see my name anywhere there. So that you're just going to have to take my word for. But anyway, there should be plenty of public record out there to find that I actually do try cases, even though unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, none of them are really newsworthy for Court TV or some of these news stations. So I'm sorry about that. Okay, so let's move on to Okay, BC. So are you stating this channel is not monetized? My understanding is that it is monetized. You should be open and honest about that, and it seems you left that bit out. So remember, there was a number of questions that I asked. Part of the questions that was researched and peer-reviewed, that these questions are going to determine whether you're a grifter. And one of the questions, the last question actually, was, have you made more than minimum wage covering the Karen Reed case? And I said that I haven't. Compared to all the hours that I put in covering the Karen Reed case, I haven't even made minimum wage on covering the Karen Reed case. Now, I think it's implicit in that is that I have made money, just not as much as minimum wage would be. So I think that's very clear. If I didn't make any money, I would have said I don't make any money. I would have just said that straight out. So the fact that I'm saying I haven't made at least minimum wage, that should indicate to you that I've made less than minimum wage, and I did make less than minimum wage. And yes, this channel is monetized, just like 99% of the other channels out there covering the Karen Reed case. I don't know any channel or any station at all that is covering any of these cases for free. I don't think they exist. Maybe they do, but I think most people want to work for money and not work for free. So even though, yes, I'm putting in a lot of the work and I am making a little bit of money, but again, the point here is that if I'd be making a ton of money, covering the Karen Reed case and pandering to a specific crowd, then that would make a lot more sense for me to pander to them and be a grifter. But if you're not even making minimum wage, then may as well be honest, right? Okay, but anyway, let's move on to the next part. Same commenter. It's about financial gain. A YouTube channel doesn't need to be solely dedicated to one case to be a grifter of that case. So you'll remember the first question of the 10-question test was, is the only case that you cover Karen Reed? Because again, if you only cover Karen Reed, well, then that's an indication that perhaps you're doing it as a grifter. You see an opportunity, you're jumping in, created the channel, all you talk about is Karen Reed. So that would be an indication that you're a grifter on the case. But this person points out that that's not the only factor, which I agree with, because that's why there's 10 questions. Not just one question, that's one of the 10 questions, but there's 10 questions. So we agree at least on that statement. But let's move on. In summary, it includes but is not limited to. So now this is this person who created their own test to determine whether you're a grifter or not. Now, before we even go into this person's test, I will say that I highly doubt that this person spent the amount of hours that I did in the lab researching this and developing and innovating, and the soul searching that I've done and the deep thought that I've done to create these 10 questions. I don't know if this person really actually did that. But just for the sake of the argument, let's just continue as if that person did, and we'll go through what their factors are to determine whether you are a grifter or not. Now, also, I do want to point out one thing, that when I said my 10 questions, I was very clear that this is an exhaustive list, which means that it's not including but not limited to. These are the 10 questions. There's no more questions. That's what my research has shown me. It's these 10 questions and nothing else. Now, this person is saying it includes but is not limited to, which means that even if they're leaving themselves an out, you see, that even if I answer all these questions perfectly, still, well, it's not limited to these questions. They can come up with more questions and then say, well, you didn't answer those questions, so that may mean that you're still a grifter. So it's a very easy way to leave yourself out, to kind of leave an out for yourself. So nevertheless, let's just go through it anyway for the sake of the argument, and we'll go through what these factors are at least. Okay. So in summary, it includes but is not limited to knowingly saying things that are false. Okay, so that's the first factor that this person has. If you knowingly say things that are false. So I don't see that this person said or pointed to anything that I said knowingly false. So I think that the first thing that you'd have to do is, if you're going to try to accuse me of something, then you got to say, you, Martin Radner, brother Counsel, said something false. And you said it knowingly false. So you got to go back to my videos, show me where, maybe a timestamp would be helpful, show me where I said something as a fact that is absolutely false. And I didn't present it as, this is the Commonwealth theory, this is what the defense is saying, this is what the argument would be. No, you have to find something. And it's not an opinion either, right? There's a difference between an opinion and a fact. For example, my opinion is that the Commonwealth did not meet their burden. They did not prove beyond a reasonable doubt. That's my opinion. That's not a fact. That's my opinion. So you have to show me a fact that I said. Like, for example, if I would say Jennifer McCabe testified this, and really the fact is that she testified something completely opposite, that would be something where I am knowingly saying a fact that is false. So if you were able to point that out to me, then I would be grateful. And I would say, okay, either I made a mistake and I would be able to acknowledge my mistake, or I'd be able to say, you got me. That's exactly what that's what I'm doing. I'm grifting, and that's why I'm saying it. But you got to first point that out. But a lot of times when I ask for specific examples, that's when a lot of these conversations go silent. Okay, but here I'm given the opportunity. Show me something what I said, which was absolutely false, and that I said it knowingly that it's false. Meaning it wasn't like a mistake. It wasn't like, oh, I'm talking about something that happened, and it's something that's important. I would add that it has to be material, not just like a detail that I may have forgotten about. But so that's okay. So more homework for you. Okay, number 2, withholding information. And here the question is, I'm not sure what this means. I don't know what this is a very broad category, withholding information. So I'm not sure what that means. Does that mean that anytime you talk about any sort of detail of the Karen Reed case, you have to provide all the information on the case, or else you're withholding information? So every single video should be 10 hours long because you have to reiterate the entire facts of the case? So I'm not sure what it means, withholding information. I don't have the information. I'm not the journalist. I'm just reporting on what I see and the evidence that comes out during trial. So that's what I'm basing my information. I'm not personally withholding any information. So unless you say, well, yeah, when you're talking about, I don't know, Jennifer McCabe's testimony, for example, you're withholding other information, from other witnesses. And then the question is going to be, okay, so every single time you open your mouth on the Karen Read case, you have to say every single fact that every single witness said. I mean, that's a little ridiculous, right? So I'm not sure what exactly this means, withholding information. So there needs to be some more clarity. And this is why I'm showing you the research that I've done. The questions are very simple, and it was very well thought out. But here, withholding information is extremely, extremely broad. And I don't even know how to begin to answer that question. So let's move on. Providing misinformation, which it seems to me like more like factor one. Knowingly saying things that are false seems to be providing misinformation. So this seems to be a repetitive question. Maybe there's a difference, and maybe the person can explain in the next comment, what the difference between knowingly saying things that are false and providing misinformation. So again, I'm not exactly sure how there's a different factor. Okay, continuing. So these three things you're saying, in order to support a narrative, in this circumstance, the FKR, the Free Karen Read movement, to attract and retain a certain followers, which subsequently achieves clicks and likes, etc., which the creator of the YouTube channel then receives financial gain, in this circumstance, a YouTube channel being monetized. It can have consequences, including, but not limited to. So again, here we have the including but not limited to language, encouraging the public to believe in false conspiracy theories. So, have I ever embraced the conspiracy theory? And in fact, that was one of the questions in the test that I gave. This is literally one of the questions that I gave. You cannot, this is all copyrighted. You can't use my question now for your own determination, or your own test to see whether someone's a grifter or not. You got to give me credit on this. So here, encouraging the public to believe in false conspiracy, which I answered in that question, that I've never embraced the conspiracy theory. I've said that there's a lot of coincidences. I think there's a lot of questions that need to be asked that we don't have the answers to. But I've never embraced the conspiracy theory. All I've said is that I don't think the Commonwealth has proved their case beyond a reasonable doubt. And all these other questions about the coincidences that happened that night, I don't know. Maybe is there a conspiracy? I don't know. I personally haven't seen, like I've said a number of times, I haven't seen enough evidence to absolutely convince me that there was a conspiracy. There's a lot of questions, a lot of coincidences. I don't know what the answers are. I think we're missing information, but I've never encouraged any sort of conspiracy or pushed the public to believe any false conspiracy. So I guess this is something that would weigh in my favor. Next thing, innocence fraud campaigns. And again, I don't know what this is talking about either. I've never been part of any sort of campaign. All I do is provide analysis, and I tell you what I see and what my analysis is based on my knowledge and experience in the law, and quite frankly, my research of the law. All right, continuing. And cause false public outrage with law enforcement and the government. So here's the question. Have I caused false public outrage with law enforcement and government? So I've never pushed anyone or suggested that we can't trust law enforcement in general terms. I've never said that we can't trust the government in general terms. I've never said that in any of my videos. I may have commented on the fact of this specific investigation seems to have been a little bit shaky. For example, using solo cups to collect blood, or using a leaf blower to clean up the snow. There's a lot of questions about this investigation, which I pointed out because that came out during the trial. But I never encouraged anyone to have outrage against law enforcement in general or government. So I'm not sure this applies to me either. I don't think it does. All right, continuing. Hard to watch this video. I found it absurd, inaccurate, and not funny if it was meant to be. Depends on one's IQ, I guess. So if you're very dumb, it seems like this person is saying, if you're very dumb, then you may find this last video that I posted funny. But if you have high IQ like this person, JI5-24, you wouldn't even find such a video funny. Okay, so let's move on to the next comment. This is from a different person, presumably a different person. This is probably one of the worst, most ridiculous video I've seen on YouTube. If you are unbiased, making an informed, thoroughly researched decision that you check with legal peers and apply legal expertise to, you are a responsible commentator. So if you want to be a responsible commentator, you've got to check with your legal peers and apply your legal expertise to, okay, that I do, but I don't check with my legal peers about what I'm saying. So maybe that's my problem. Continuing, a grifter is someone who skews the facts to get clicks. And again, if you're referring to me, then you're going to have to show me which facts I'm skewing in order to get clicks. Because again, like I said, I base my evidence and I base my opinion on the facts and evidence that I see in trial. I try not to skew any of the facts. So if I did, show me an example of where I'm saying something which is factually inaccurate, and then I'm doing it knowingly in order to get clicks. And then you can say, okay, there you go. There is evidence, proof that you are a grifter. Continuing, weird. Your research is crap, as in your premise and the conclusions you draw from it. So here's the question. Your research is crap. What research are you talking about? I'm not doing any specific research other than legal research. So I'm watching the trial. I'm watching the hearings, the legal proceedings. I'm watching the arguments, watching the hearings. And that's where I'm basing my information on. I'm not doing any other research. I'm not a journalist. I'm not trying to find other research. I'm just following what I'm seeing in the court filings and what I'm seeing on in trial or seeing in the court hearings. So I'm not sure what research you're specifically talking about, unless you're talking about my legal research. And maybe you're saying my legal research is crap, meaning the citations that I provided to legal authority, which back up my opinion. Maybe that's what you're referring to. If you're referring to that, then again, I would suggest that show which legal research, which citation that I quoted from a specific case that you don't agree with. Go read that case and tell me why you have a different understanding of that case and why, therefore, my research is crap. Otherwise, just saying a blanket statement, your research is crap. Why don't you show me an example of how my research is crap? And I'm assuming that you're talking about the legal research, because other than that, I'm just relating what I've seen in the trial or the hearing. Okay. What is this? Opposite day, 1984, Ministry of Truth Speak. Okay, that's what that means. Moving on. Next person, guilt or innocence. Again, presumably another person. I don't know for sure, but maybe this is all the same person. I don't know. But here's another name, at least. You are a grifter because you have never done a short video showing all physical evidence. Example, data from Karen Reed's car, data from John's phone, data from all cameras, DNA missing, Chloe's DNA, Karen Reed's own words admitting that she hit him. For example, when she said, I hit him. John's hair found on the bumper. John's DNA found on Karen Reed's back end of her car. I think that's the same thing. Maybe you made a little mistake there. It's the hair that was on the back of the car, which the DNA was tested and found to be from that hair. Taillight pieces found in John O'Keefe's shirt. On and on. This is why people know you are a big-time grifter. So really, this is a very confusing comment, because this is a person who said that they follow me. I used to think a lot of you when you did the Adelson trial. So I covered the Charlie Adelson trial. I'm covering the Donna Adelson trial, and this is someone who's been following me. So if you are a follower of this channel and you've been following my videos on Karen Reed, I don't know how you make this comment. You know why? Because I've spoken so much about the evidence that points towards Karen Reed's guilt. It's extremely surprising how you can even suggest that I haven't talked about the evidence pointing to her guilt, to the incriminating evidence. I've spoken about that DNA on the hair on the back of the vehicle so many times that anyone who's been watching this trial, even a casual observer of this channel, would be able to tell you that I spoke so much about all the evidence in this case, all the evidence that points to Karen Reed's guilt, and all the evidence that provides reasonable doubt. I mean, I've spoken about this ad nauseum, but which is why this is so surprising. That if you're someone that actually follows this channel, you would have seen all the times. I spoke about it when we were talking about the ARCA experts, about the evidence that they didn't have. I spoke about it when they were talking about Dr. Marie Russell's evidence that she didn't have. I mean, I spoke about this so many times, the free Karen readers are probably going nuts that I'm talking about it so much. So this comment is extremely confusing, because this is someone, it seems, who follows me, who watches this channel and actually likes my coverage on the Adelson trial. Let's continue. But since your nose has been in the Karen Reed case, you have approached it with a grifter style that shows you are all about your own viewership. Unless you do a video including all the physical evidence, you may lose your grifter dunce hat. But I doubt it. I think you have picked your own motive of reporting. So again, I've done so many videos and made so many comments and analysis using all of the evidence that does point to Karen Reed's guilt that I really don't know what more I can do. I mean, maybe someone out there can create a collage of all the times that I spoke about the DNA, spoke about the Chloe's DNA, the lack of Chloe's DNA. I spoke about that ad nauseum. I mean, I spoke about these things, all these things all the time. So maybe someone can go out there and do that for me, because I'm not going to go through all my videos and pull out each time that I spoke about the incriminating evidence. Okay, but let's move on. Okay, JI 524, and this is the last comment because I think that this really just wraps it all up. This is really just takes the cake. Here we go. Have you noticed all the intelligent and rational people are dropping like flies from this channel? Only about 5 left, and they will be gone soon. It's gone downhill as to the intelligence level and comments. So here we have, again, this JI 5/24, that all of the intelligent and rational people are dropping like flies. So if you're watching this right now, that's what this person thinks about you, that you're not intelligent, you're not rational, and you, quite frankly, don't have a sense of humor either. Because this person, he or she, didn't think any of that last video was funny at all. And you're just not intelligent, you're not rational, and this is the only smart person in the room, apparently. So there's only about 5 left who actually watch this channel. So of the, whatever it is, thousands of people that watch this channel, there's only about 5 of you out there that are rational and intelligent. And you're going to be gone soon. So it's going downhill. Everyone's leaving this channel. They're realizing that this is for dumb people, people who have no sense of humor. And that's what this person's opinion is. So what we have to do, obviously, is that if you have been following this channel, if you have been watching this channel and you haven't yet subscribed, please show this person that they're wrong. Show them that you are intelligent, that you do have a sense of humor, and that you will subscribe to Brother Counsel, because this is where we provide objective analysis. And yeah, maybe once in a while we'll have a good time. We'll talk about comments. We'll have a little sarcasm. But generally speaking, we do some research. I show you my research. I show you the citations to the cases so you can look them up there yourselves. I'm not trying to pull any fast ones. I'm not trying to hide behind a name, Brother Counsel, without telling you who I am, that I'm a real attorney and I try cases. So if you actually see through all of this, then you, I think, come to realize that this is a decent channel and we have some fun and we learn some things. It's educational, and therefore you should absolutely subscribe and like. So with that being said, that's going to be it for today. Please, if you haven't yet subscribed, and we will see you next time.